5 armed men cornered tech billionaire Alexander Pierce in the Grand Meridian Hotel lobby. Derek Stone pressed a suppressed pistol to his head. "Tonight you die, Pierce." Keisha Williams pushed her cleaning cart nearby, invisible in her hotel uniform. Derek spotted her. "Hey, you!" Keisha looked up. "See this gun? See what's happening?" Derek's voice was ice cold. "Walk away and keep your black mouth shut, or I'll put a bullet in your worthless skull." His partner snickered. "Think it understands? These animals know their place." Derek spat. "Don't you, cleaning lady? Stay invisible like a good little nigger." He waved the gun dismissively. "Now get lost before I decide you're a problem." Keisha's hands gripped her cart, calloused fingers that had scrubbed floors for years, but underneath the humble exterior something deadly stirred. What happened next would break the internet and change everything. The Grand Meridian Hotel rose 43 stories above downtown Seattle, its marble lobby a cathedral of wealth and power. Tech executives made billion-dollar deals over champagne, while service workers moved like ghosts between the shadows, seen but never acknowledged. Keisha Williams had worked these halls for 6 years. Every morning at 5, she caught 2 buses from her modest apartment in South Seattle. Single mother of 2, Maya 12 and Jordan 8, she scraped together enough from double shifts to keep food on the table and rent paid. To guests, she was furniture, a cleaning lady who restocked towels and emptied trash. They never noticed how she moved through rooms with military precision, or how her eyes constantly scanned for threats. They couldn't see the faded tan line where wedding rings once sat, or the challenge coin hidden in her uniform pocket, because Keisha Williams carried secrets that would shatter their assumptions. Former Navy SEAL. 3 classified tours overseas, expert in close-quarters combat, weapons improvisation, tactical elimination. She'd saved her unit in Syria, killed enemy combatants in Afghanistan, survived missions that remained classified to this day. But that was another life, before the injury that ended her military career, before Marcus died in a training accident, leaving her alone with 2 babies, before she traded combat boots for cleaning supplies and learned to be invisible. Alexander Pierce was different from other guests. The tech billionaire always said please and thank you. When Jordan needed emergency surgery last Christmas, a mysterious benefactor paid the hospital bill. Keisha suspected it was him, though he never mentioned it. Alexander had built his fortune creating quantum encryption software. His upcoming congressional testimony would expose Russian cyber warfare operations. Powerful people wanted him silenced. Derek Stone represented those interests. Former Spetsnaz operative turned international assassin, he led a team of professional killers who specialized in making problems disappear. Tonight's contract was worth $10 million. His crew had arrived separately over 3 days, facial recognition disabled, security cameras compromised, local police diverted by false emergency calls. They'd planned the perfect assassination. But they'd made one critical error. They assumed the cleaning lady was exactly what she appeared to be. Keisha finished restocking the bathroom supplies in the penthouse suite. Through the window, Seattle's skyline glittered in the darkness. Somewhere in this building, predators were preparing to hunt. Her military instincts whispered warnings she couldn't ignore. She checked her watch. Alexander would arrive soon for his dinner meeting. The same meeting Derek's team had been discussing in hushed tones all week. Tonight, the invisible woman would have to choose between safety and honor. Earlier that afternoon, Keisha was cleaning the executive conference room when she heard voices through the adjoining door. 5 men spoke in low tones, their conversation drifting through the thin walls. "Target arrives at 8:30. Derek's voice was clinical, professional. "Security will be minimal. We eliminate him in the lobby, stage it as a robbery." Keisha froze, cloth in hand. Her SEAL training kicked in automatically. Threat assessment, intelligence gathering, mission parameters. "What about witnesses?" another voice asked. "Hotel staff were dismissed early for a gas leak drill. Cameras already looped. Police response delayed by distraction downtown. Clean execution, in and out." Keisha's blood turned cold. They were planning murder, right here in her hotel. She continued cleaning, moving silently closer to the door. Through the crack, she saw Derek's reflection in the window. Tall, cold-eyed, holding a tablet displaying building schematics. "Pierce thinks he's meeting investors for dinner. Instead, he meets us." Derek's laugh was like breaking glass. $10 million to silence one man's testimony. Easy money. Keisha backed away carefully, her heart hammering. She knew that name, Alexander Pierce, the kind billionaire who always treated her with respect. Derek's head snapped up. Did you hear something? Footsteps approached the door. Keisha quickly resumed cleaning, humming softly. Derek yanked the door open. How long have you been out here? Just started this room, sir. Keisha kept her eyes down, playing the submissive worker. Should I come back later? Derek studied her face, searching for deception. What did you hear? Nothing, sir, just cleaning. Good. His voice turned menacing. Because cleaning ladies who hear too much sometimes have accidents. Slippery floors, broken necks, you understand? The threat hung between them like poison. Keisha nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Smart girl. Now finish up and get lost. Derek slammed the door. Keisha's hands shook as she packed her supplies. 20 years of military training screamed at her. Neutralize the threat. Protect the asset. Complete the mission. But civilian life whispered different advice. Call the police. Let professionals handle it. Think of your children. Keisha checked her phone. 6:15. Alexander would arrive in 2 hours. She could go home, kiss her babies goodnight, pretend she never heard anything, or she could honor the oath she'd sworn as a SEAL, to protect the innocent from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Her fingers found the challenge coin in her pocket, worn smooth from years of carrying. Marcus had given it to her the day she graduated SEAL training. Semper Fi, baby. Always faithful. Alexander Pierce had quietly saved her son's life. Tonight, maybe she could return the favor. Derek Stone moved through the Grand Meridian Hotel like an apex predator claiming new territory. His confidence radiated from 2 decades of flawless executions, politicians who asked inconvenient questions, journalists who dug too deep, whistleblowers who threatened the wrong people. In Derek's world, money bought silence, fear ensured compliance, and violence solved problems permanently. At 7:30, his team assembled in the dimly lit service corridor behind the main lobby. 4 international killers, each hand-picked for their specific talents. Victor, the Russian demolitions expert, Carter, the Taiwanese sniper, Hassan, the Syrian interrogation specialist, Rodriguez, the Colombian knife artist. Together, they were worth $50 million in blood money. Weapons check, Derek commanded, his voice carrying the authority of countless successful missions. Each man displayed their arsenal: suppressed pistols, ceramic knives that bypassed metal detectors, plastic explosives disguised as breath mints. Tools of modern assassination, untraceable and efficient. Remember the story, Derek continued, pulling up hotel schematics on his encrypted tablet. Alexander Pierce resists during a robbery attempt. Tragic victim of random violence. No political implications, no international incidents. His Lieutenant Victor nodded, checking his weapons suppressor. What about witnesses? Eliminated as variables. The building manager received an anonymous tip about a gas leak in the East Wing. Most staff evacuated as precaution. The remaining skeleton crew has been compensated for temporary blindness and amnesia. Derek's smile was predatory. Money talked in every language. The night security guard had received $50,000 to disappear for 2 hours. The desk clerk got $20,000 to forget faces. Even the parking attendant earned $5,000 to lose security footage. Timeline is critical, Derek emphasized, highlighting key positions on the building layout. Pierce enters the main lobby at 8:30 sharp. He's expecting dinner with tech investors from Singapore. Instead, he meets us. The team studied their positions like chess masters planning checkmate. Rodriguez would block the rear exit. Carter covered the elevators. Hassan controlled the main entrance. Victor watched for complications. Derek handled the execution personally. Contingencies? Hassan asked in accented English. Police response delayed by coordinated distraction. False emergency call about armed robbery 6 miles away. Every patrol unit in the area will be chasing ghosts. Derek had orchestrated similar operations across 4 continents. Government officials in Ukraine, corporate executives in Brazil, human rights lawyers in the Philippines. Each death looked accidental, coincidental, or criminal, never political. Meanwhile, 4 floors above, Keisha Williams moved through the executive suites with predatory awareness her guests never noticed. Years of SEAL training had taught her to read environments like enemy territory. Every shadow could hide a threat. Every sound might signal danger. Her hands moved automatically, restocking towels, emptying wastebaskets, polishing mirrors, while her mind processed tactical intelligence. Through bathroom vents, she'd overheard fragments of Derek's planning. Foreign accents discussing weapons, military terminology describing kill zones. The hotel's layout was etched in her memory like a battlefield map. 37 exit routes, including service corridors, 14 different levels with varying security coverage, 63 rooms where civilians might seek shelter during a crisis. At 8 o'clock, she changed from her hotel uniform into black tactical clothing kept in her emergency locker. Old habits from classified missions where blending into darkness meant survival. She'd learned in Syria that sometimes the best camouflage was becoming part of the shadows. Her hands found familiar weapons hidden throughout the building. A ceramic knife taped under sink pipes, military-grade zip ties in cleaning supply cabinets, chemical compounds that could create smoke screens or improvised explosives. A Navy SEAL never stopped being prepared for war. Through security monitors in the basement, she watched Derek's team take final positions. Professional spacing that provided overlapping fields of fire, backup escape routes marked with subtle chalk symbols, communication protocols using hand signals instead of radios. These weren't amateur criminals or desperate thugs. They moved with military precision, checked corners like trained soldiers, positioned themselves with tactical awareness that screamed Special Forces background. Derek himself stood near the marble fountain, checking his encrypted phone while scanning for potential complications. His eyes swept across every face in the lobby, cataloging threats and dismissing irrelevant civilians. At 8:15, he gathered his team for final instructions. Remember, this needs to look organic. Pierce fights back during robbery, catches a bullet in the struggle. Witnesses see brave victims, not political assassination. What about the cleaning woman from earlier? Victor asked, his Russian accent thick with concern. She overheard the planning session. Derek's laugh was cruel, dismissive. You mean that pathetic black bitch? She ran home to her ghetto hours ago. These animals know their place in the food chain. Still a potential witness, Hassan pointed out. Please, Derek sneered. Look at what we're dealing with. Minimum wage hotel maid, probably illiterate, definitely too stupid to understand what she heard. These people are bred for scrubbing toilets, not thinking about complex operations. He waved his hand dismissively. Even if she stayed, what's she going to do? Call her welfare caseworker? These niggers don't talk to police. They know what happens to snitches in their neighborhoods. Derek's racism wasn't just personal hatred. It was operational blindness. His contempt for people he considered beneath notice had become a tactical weakness. He couldn't imagine that invisible people might be watching, planning, preparing to strike back. But Keisha Williams was already moving through air ducts above their heads, using maintenance tunnels that didn't appear on any guest map. Her SEAL training had taught her that the best attacks came from directions enemies never expected. Through a ventilation grate, she watched Derek check his watch one final time. 8:27. Alexander Pierce would walk through those lobby doors in exactly 3 minutes. 5 professional killers waited in perfect position to execute an innocent man. But they weren't the only predators hunting in the darkness tonight. Keisha crouched in the ventilation shaft above the marble lobby, watching 5 killers position themselves around their target zone. Her breathing shifted to combat rhythm, controlled, measured, oxygenating muscles for explosive action. Through the metal grate beneath her feet, she could see Derek checking his watch. 2 minutes until Alexander walked into their trap. Her mind shifted into tactical assessment mode, analyzing the battlefield with SEAL precision. 5 hostiles, confined space, 1 civilian asset to protect. The killers held superior firepower and positioning, but they'd made one critical error. They assumed they were the only predators in the building. Keisha's fingers found the challenge coin in her pocket, worn smooth from years of carrying. Marcus had given it to her the day she graduated SEAL training, back when the world made sense and enemies wore uniforms. Maya, Jordan, she whispered to herself, thinking of her children sleeping safely at home. Mommy's coming back, but first Mommy has work to finish. The hotel lobby transformed in her mind from elegant public space to 3-dimensional kill zone. Marble columns provided cover and concealment. Crystal chandeliers could create devastating distractions. Decorative fountains offered improvised weapons and area denial tools. Her route was already planned: drop through the ceiling tiles near the service entrance, use the marble pillar for cover, create chaos to give Alexander escape opportunities. Classic asymmetric warfare against superior numbers. Derek positioned himself near the main entrance, weapon concealed but ready. His team spread out in a perfect kill box formation. No escape routes, overlapping fields of fire, professional execution protocol. Keisha synchronized her watch with theirs. 60 seconds until contact. She'd fought these odds before in Fallujah, when her 6-person SEAL team faced 40 insurgents in an abandoned warehouse. The key was speed, surprise, and turning the enemy's strength against them. Derek's arrogance would be his weakness. He saw a hotel maid where a warrior waited. His contempt had blinded him to the lethal force hiding in plain sight. Through the grate, she watched him adjust his tie and smile coldly. This was routine for him. Just another contract, another body, another payday. 30 seconds. Keisha's hands found her improvised weapons, cleaning chemicals that could blind and disorient, metal fixtures that became clubs and projectiles, years of military training compressed into whatever tools the environment provided. Alexander Pierce's footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Innocent man walking toward execution, unaware that 5 killers waited and 1 guardian prepared to intervene. 15 seconds. Derek's team tensed, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Professional killers ready to earn their blood money. But they'd forgotten the first rule of combat: always watch your 6. Alexander Pierce stepped through the Grand Meridian's glass doors at exactly 8:30, checking his phone for dinner confirmation. The lobby appeared empty, except for a few well-dressed men scattered around the marble space, each one positioned with military precision. Derek Stone emerged from behind the decorative fountain like death itself, his suppressed pistol rising smoothly toward Alexander's head. "Mr. Pierce, we represent certain parties upset by your upcoming congressional testimony." Alexander's blood turned ice as reality crashed down. 5 armed men materialized from the shadows, weapons trained on him from multiple angles. Professional kill formation, overlapping fields of fire, no escape routes. Certain death waited in the elegant lobby. "You really think killing me will stop the truth from coming out?" Alexander backed against the cold marble wall, his mind calculating impossible odds against trained killers. "Truth is irrelevant," Derek smiled with predatory satisfaction. "Dead men tell no tales. Your quantum encryption secrets die with you tonight, along with your pathetic crusade against our employers." The assassination team closed formation. A choreographed death dance performed hundreds of times across 4 continents. Each killer moved with practiced efficiency, weapons steady, exits covered. Alexander was trapped like prey in a spider's web. Above them, ceiling tiles shifted almost imperceptibly. Derek savored the moment, watching fear bloom in his target's eyes. $10 million for 1 bullet. Easy money earned through superior planning and overwhelming force. "Any last words, Mr. Pierce?" Derek's finger tightened on the trigger, relishing the power over life and death. "Yeah," Alexander said quietly, his voice steadier than it should have been. "You picked the wrong fucking hotel." Keisha Williams dropped through the ceiling like an avenging angel, landing silently behind Victor, the nearest gunman. 20 years of Navy SEAL training compressed into one fluid motion. Her ceramic knife found the precise spot below his ear where the blade met the brainstem. He collapsed without even a whisper, weapon clattering uselessly across marble. The wet sound of metal-piercing flesh echoed through the suddenly silent lobby. Chen, the Taiwanese sniper, spun toward the impossible disturbance. Keisha was already moving, flowing like deadly water around his rising weapon. She caught his gun arm, redirected the barrel toward the ceiling, then drove her elbow into his throat with surgical precision. His strangled gasp was cut short as she used his own momentum to send him crashing through the antique glass coffee table. Crystal exploded across marble floors like frozen fireworks, each shard catching lobby lights as it scattered. Blood pooled beneath Carter's motionless form. Derek's head snapped toward the carnage, his tactical mind struggling to process the impossible scene. The quiet hotel maid, the pathetic black bitch he'd dismissed, was systematically destroying his professional kill team with surgical precision. What the fuck? Who are you? Derek's weapon swung wildly between Alexander and this new threat, his perfect plan disintegrating in real time. Keisha didn't waste breath on answers. Combat was meditation, not conversation. Hassan, the Syrian operative, charged from her left flank, knife glinting in his hand. She read his attack pattern like a children's book. Telegraphed, overconfident, sloppy. She ducked his wild swing, trapped his knife arm, then swept his legs with mechanical efficiency. His face met the marble fountain edge with a wet crack that echoed off the high ceiling. Water turned pink with blood as he slumped unconscious into the decorative pool. Hotel guests materialized from elevators and restaurant entrances, drawn by the sounds of violence. Phones emerged like digital flowers, recording from multiple angles. TikTok vertical videos, Instagram stories, Twitter live streams, all capturing the same impossible reality. A uniformed cleaning woman demolishing international assassins with her bare hands. Rodriguez, the Colombian knife specialist, drew his backup pistol with desperate speed. Keisha was faster. She grabbed the heavy brass lamp from the marble reception desk, its base solid enough to crack skulls. His bullet sparked off the metal fixture as she deflected his aim, then drove the lamp's base into his solar plexus. Ribs cracked like breaking branches. His breath left in a whooshing gasp as he folded over, weapon falling from nerveless fingers. Keisha followed through with a knee strike to his temple that put him down permanently. Derek's tactical superiority had evaporated in 90 seconds of controlled violence. His elite team, worth $50 million in combined blood money, lay groaning and motionless across the hotel's marble floor, while the woman he'd threatened to kill stood over them, not even breathing hard. "This is impossible," he whispered, raising his weapon with hands that shook for the first time in 20 years. Keisha moved like liquid lightning. She caught his wrist before he could align the sights, applied a joint lock that sent electric pain up his arm, and forced him to drop the gun. The suppressed pistol clattered across marble as she swept his legs and put him on his knees beside the bloodied fountain. "Clean up on aisle 5, she said with deadly calm, checking Alexander for injuries while keeping one foot on Derek's neck. Someone's live stream had captured the entire engagement from start to finish. Within minutes, the hashtag #HashHousekeeperAssassins exploded across every social media platform. Vertical videos from TikTok, horizontal footage from Instagram, Twitter clips dissected frame by frame, all showing the same impossible scene. A black woman in a hotel uniform standing calm amid absolute chaos while 5 professional killers lay unconscious around her feet. Blood on marble, crystals scattered like diamonds, and one quiet explanation that changed everything. Real hotel security burst through the lobby doors, responding to dozens of guest emergency calls. They found well-dressed men with military-grade weapons neutralized by an employee who looked like she'd just finished her cleaning shift. "This woman attacked us unprovoked!" Derek gasped from his position on the cold marble floor, blood trickling from his mouth. "She's a goddamn terrorist, a trained killer loose in the civilian population." "I was protecting Mr. Pierce from assassination," Keisha replied, her military bearing evident now that her cover was completely blown. Voice steady, posture erect, eyes scanning for additional threats with professional competence. Alexander stepped forward, his voice shaking with adrenaline and gratitude. "She saved my life. These men came here to murder me. She's a hero." The viral moment crystallized as dozens of phones captured Keisha explaining the situation to security with calm professionalism. Every major platform carried the same explosive hashtag within minutes, #MaidVizAssassins trending globally. Local news stations picked up the story first, then national networks, then international media. Hotel employee foils international assassination attempt dominated headlines as the videos spread exponentially across the digital landscape. Derek's handlers in Moscow and Beijing watched their perfect operation disintegrate into global humiliation. Worse than operational failure, they'd been destroyed by someone their own contempt had rendered invisible. But their counterattack was already mobilizing. If they couldn't kill Alexander Pierce quietly, they'd destroy his savior publicly. The woman being hailed as a hero worldwide would soon be painted as something far more dangerous. By morning, Keisha Williams would discover that saving a life could destroy everything she'd fought to build. Within 6 hours of the viral videos exploding across social media, Derek Stone's handlers activated their most sophisticated weapon, information warfare. Military-grade psychological operations designed to reshape public perception, deployed by professionals who toppled governments for living. The attack began on obscure forums and fringe websites where conspiracy theories bred like digital viruses. Anonymous posts questioned Keisha's background. Why did a simple maid fight like special forces? Was the entire incident staged for publicity? Did Alexander Pierce orchestrate his own assassination attempt to boost his congressional testimony's credibility? By dawn, coordinated bot networks amplified these doubts across mainstream platforms. Russian troll farms, Chinese cyber units, and domestic political operatives united in common cause. Hashtags shifted from #housekeeper hero to #staged assassination and #violent veteran. Thousands of fake accounts spread carefully crafted disinformation designed to poison public opinion against Keisha Williams. Derek's legal team moved simultaneously like pieces on a global chessboard. High-powered attorneys from firms that normally defended dictators and war criminals filed criminal charges against Keisha: assault with deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, conspiracy to stage fraudulent incidents. The unconscious assassins became sympathetic victims of unprovoked violence by an unstable former soldier. Leaked military records painted Keisha's honorable discharge as psychological instability. Her classified SEAL operations were framed as evidence of dangerous mental conditioning incompatible with civilian life. Cable news talking heads questioned whether trained killers should work around innocent civilians without mandatory psychiatric monitoring. The character assassination was surgical, precise, devastating in its calculated cruelty. Social media comments that once praised her courage turned venomous with manufactured outrage. Why didn't she call the police instead of using violence like some ghetto vigilante? Typical aggressive veteran who can't adjust to civilized society. Hotels need better background checks on violent employees with PTSD. The narrative flipped like a switch controlled by invisible puppet masters. Professional protesters appeared outside the Grand Meridian with printed signs demanding justice for assault victims and no more military violence in civilian spaces. Media interviews revealed they were paid actors from crisis management agencies, but their message dominated news cycles. Maya faced coordinated bullying at Roosevelt Middle School. Classmates surrounded her locker chanting, "Your mom's the psycho who beats people up." The teacher looked away, unwilling to defend the daughter of a violent extremist making international headlines. Someone spray-painted "Killer's Kid" on her locker door. 8-year-old Jordan came home crying after older kids pushed him off playground equipment and threw rocks at his head. "They said my mommy hurts people and we should go back to Africa," he sobbed into Keisha's arms. "Are you a bad person, Mommy? Did you really hurt those men?" Keisha's mother called from Atlanta, voice trembling with shame and confusion. "Baby, the church ladies are talking behind my back. Reverend Thompson asked me not to come to Sunday service this week. They're saying you've brought violence and sin into God's house. Sister Patterson won't even look at me at the grocery store." The Grand Meridian placed Keisha on indefinite administrative leave pending criminal investigation. Corporate lawyers sent memos to other hotel chains flagging her as a significant security risk with documented history of workplace violence. Military contractors refused to consider her resume. Liability concerns about hiring unstable veterans outweighed any qualifications she possessed. Legal bills mounted like avalanche debris, burying her family's future. Keisha's court-appointed public defender was an overworked rookie handling 200 active cases with no resources for investigation. Meanwhile, Derek's team deployed attorneys who normally defended genocidal dictators and pharmaceutical companies that poison children. The legal disparity was intentionally crushing. David versus Goliath with David's sling confiscated as evidence. Alexander Pierce faced mounting pressure from every direction. Board members questioned his association with the violent incident that had made their company a liability magnet. Stock prices dipped as institutional investors worried about reputational damage spreading to quarterly earnings reports. Merger partners hinted that distancing himself from controversy might accelerate deal negotiations. Perhaps a generous settlement and comprehensive non-disclosure agreement would benefit all parties, his corporate lawyers suggested during emergency board meetings. Put this unfortunate matter behind us quietly before it impacts our IPO timeline. Derek himself became the face of victimized innocence on every major news program, projecting wounded dignity and professional composure despite his role as an international assassin. His face bore carefully applied theater makeup to highlight bruises while downplaying visible evidence of his murderous intentions. "I hold absolutely no ill will toward this deeply troubled woman," he told CNN's cameras with practiced sincerity that fooled millions of viewers. "She clearly suffers from severe military-related psychological trauma that went untreated for years. She needs comprehensive psychiatric help, not criminal prosecution. But civilized society simply cannot tolerate vigilante violence in our hotels and public spaces, regardless of the perpetrator's service record or personal struggles." The performance was masterful. Victimized businessman showing Christian forgiveness toward his mentally ill attacker while subtly demanding justice. Social media consumed it voraciously. #Forgiveness, not vengeance began trending alongside calls for Keisha's involuntary psychiatric hospitalization. Evidence disappeared like morning fog under professional manipulation. Hotel security footage became mysteriously corrupted during routine maintenance. Derek's surviving team members provided coordinated witness statements describing a peaceful business meeting interrupted by unprovoked assault from a deranged employee. Keisha's military records remained classified at levels preventing her defense team from accessing SEAL training documentation as legal justification. Local police investigation files painted a picture of dangerous delusion. Minimum-wage hotel worker who fantasized about being a special forces hero snapped under financial pressure and family stress, then violently attacked innocent businessmen conducting legitimate commerce. Detective reports described her as emotionally unstable female veteran with documented history of violence-related employment termination and chronic financial instability leading to psychological break from reality. Keisha sat in her increasingly empty apartment, eviction notice taped prominently to the door, watching her life disintegrate on every news channel. Moving boxes stacked against walls told the story of dreams being packed away permanently. Her children asked why strangers on television called their mother a liar, a monster, a terrorist. "Mommy," Maya whispered one evening while hiding under blankets. "Are we bad people now? Are we going to jail too?" The question shattered something fundamental inside Keisha's chest. Everything she'd fought to protect, her family's safety, her children's future, her own hard-earned dignity, was crumbling under coordinated assault by forces she couldn't see, couldn't fight, couldn't even name. Derek's confidence grew with each passing day of successful manipulation. This was familiar territory, unlimited money and corrupt lawyers versus working-class defendants without resources or connections. The outcome was as predictable as gravity, as certain as sunrise. But Derek made one critical error that would prove fatal to his entire operation. Success bred arrogance. Arrogance led to overreach, and overreach attracted unwanted attention from very dangerous people. He pushed aggressively for federal terrorism charges, demanding Keisha serve life imprisonment as an example to other violent veterans who threaten civilian populations. He gave increasingly vindictive interviews, each one more personally cruel than the last. He wanted complete destruction, total victory, absolute humiliation of the woman who had dared to challenge his supremacy. The media circus attracted FBI Special Agent Sarah Martinez, who received the case file with professional skepticism earned through 20 years hunting international terrorists. Something about Derek's story triggered investigative instincts that had never failed her before. Why did random criminals carry military-grade encrypted communications equipment? How did amateur robbers disable sophisticated hotel security systems with professional competence? Why were Derek's business associates flagged in Interpol terrorism databases under different identities? Martinez began pulling threads that Derek's handlers hadn't expected anyone competent enough to notice. 3 weeks into the media nightmare, Derek Stone played his final, most vicious card. The anonymous phone calls started at 2 in the morning. Maya's school schedule, Jordan's walking route to the bus stop, detailed descriptions of their daily routines delivered in emotionless voices that promised violence. "Your mother made some powerful enemies," the caller told 12-year-old Maya when she answered the house phone. Smart girls know when to convince their mothers to stop talking to the police. Keisha's military training screamed tactical response. Identify threats, neutralize enemies, protect assets at all costs. But civilian law demanded she trust a system that had already betrayed her completely. Which identity would survive? The mother trying to keep her family safe, or the warrior who never left anyone behind? Derek requested a private meeting through intermediaries, claiming he wanted to end the destruction before more innocent people got hurt. The location was symbolic and calculated, the same Grand Meridian Hotel lobby where everything had started, full circle back to the scene of his public humiliation. Keisha arrived alone, wearing her best dress instead of a hotel uniform. The marble floors she'd once mopped gleamed under crystal chandeliers that had witnessed her transformation from invisible worker to international symbol. Derek waited by the fountain where she'd put him on his knees 3 weeks earlier. His expensive suit and confident posture projected power, control, the inevitable victory of wealth over working-class resistance. "Miss Williams," he greeted her with false courtesy, "thank you for coming. I hope we can resolve this unfortunate situation like civilized adults." "Cut the bullshit, Derek. What do you want?" He smiled with predatory satisfaction. "Direct. I appreciate that. Very well. I'm prepared to offer you a complete financial settlement. $5 million, sealed records, new identities for your children, relocation assistance to anywhere in the world." The offer hung between them like poison disguised as medicine. In exchange for what? Simple. You admit publicly that you overreacted due to military-related psychological trauma. You apologize for your unprovoked attack on innocent businessmen. You undergo voluntary psychiatric treatment and disappear quietly into whatever hole we provide. Derek's voice carried the certainty of someone who'd never been refused. Your children get good schools, safe neighborhoods, and college funds. You get to keep breathing. Everyone wins. Except the truth. Truth? Derek laughed, the sound echoing off marble walls. Look around you, Keisha. Do you see truth winning? Your reputation is destroyed. Your family is threatened. Your future is gone. Truth is whatever people believe, and people believe what we tell them to believe. He leaned forward, voice dropping to intimate cruelty. You think you're protecting your children by fighting us? You're destroying them. Maya's already developing anxiety attacks at school. Jordan wets the bed because he's afraid of strangers. Every day this continues, you damage them more. The words hit like physical blows because they carried truth wrapped in manipulation. Your little boy asked his teacher if his mommy was going to jail forever. Your daughter researches juvenile detention centers online, wondering where she'll live when you're convicted. Is this the protection you promised them? Derek's psychological warfare was surgical, targeting every maternal instinct Keisha possessed. You want to be a hero? Real heroes know when to surrender for the greater good. Sign the papers, take the money, let your children heal from the trauma you've caused them. Keisha's resolve wavered. Maybe he was right. Maybe continuing this fight was selfish. Maybe her children would be better off if she just disappeared. Think about it, Derek continued, sensing weakness. What happens when federal terrorism charges stick? 25 to life in Supermax prison. Maya and Jordan growing up knowing their mother chose pride over their welfare. He pulled out an encrypted tablet showing surveillance photos. Maya walking to school, Jordan playing in their apartment courtyard, Keisha's mother grocery shopping in Atlanta. These pictures were taken yesterday. My associates have impressive reach, Miss Williams. Global network, unlimited resources, very creative problem-solving methods. The threat was clear without being spoken. But I'm reasonable. Derek's voice became almost gentle. I don't want to hurt children. Sign the confession, and everyone stays safe. Your kids get better lives than you ever dreamed possible. For a moment, Keisha almost believed him. The weight of protecting her family crushed down like concrete. Then she remembered something. Derek, she said quietly, reaching into her purse. I have a confession to make too. She pulled out a small recording device, FBI-issued digital, court-admissible. Derek's face went white. What the fuck is that? Insurance. Keisha's voice was steady as granite. This entire conversation has been transmitted live to FBI Special Agent Sarah Martinez and the Joint Terrorism Task Force monitoring from the van outside. You're recording illegally. I didn't consent to... Washington state one-party consent laws. Your threats against children constitute federal intimidation charges. Those surveillance photos you showed me, stalking across state lines, your associates following my mother in Georgia, interstate conspiracy. Derek's confident facade cracked like ice under pressure. But here's the beautiful part, Keisha continued. Agent Martinez ran facial recognition on your business associates from the hotel security footage. Turns out they're wanted by Interpol for assassination contracts in 12 countries. The psychological tables turned completely. Your entire operation is blown, Derek. Not just the Alexander Pierce contract, everything. The Syrian journalist murdered in London last year, that was your team. The Ukrainian prosecutor killed in Prague, same weapons signatures. The Brazilian environmental lawyer who died in a car accident, your people were in Sao Paulo that week. Derek's arrogance transformed into pure terror. You thought you were dealing with a broken-down hotel maid who'd fold under pressure. Instead, you exposed an international death squad to a federal counterterrorism investigation. FBI agents materialized from service corridors, weapons drawn, tactical gear replacing hotel uniforms they'd worn as disguises. Derek Stone, Agent Martinez announced, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, international terrorism, and about 50 other charges that will put you away forever. As handcuffs clicked shut around Derek's wrists, Keisha stood in the same lobby where he'd dismissed her as worthless garbage. But now she wasn't invisible anymore. She was justice. Derek Stone's arrest triggered an international avalanche that buried decades of carefully hidden crimes. Within hours, FBI raids across 12 countries netted 47 members of his assassination network. Safe houses in Prague, London, and Dubai yielded evidence of state-sponsored murders spanning 2 decades. The man who'd dismissed Keisha as worthless black trash now wore federal prison orange, facing 17 life sentences without possibility of parole. His empire of violence crumbled because he'd underestimated one hotel worker's courage. Derek's trial became a global sensation. Prosecutors presented evidence linking his organization to the murders of journalists, activists, and whistleblowers across 4 continents. Each victim had threatened powerful interests: oil companies, pharmaceutical cartels, corrupt governments willing to pay for silence. The jury deliberated for 37 minutes, guilty on all counts. As the verdict was read, Derek's eyes found Keisha in the gallery. The woman he'd threatened to shoot was now the reason he'd die behind bars. His final expression was pure disbelief. How had the invisible become invincible? Alexander Pierce kept his promise. The day after Derek's conviction, he announced the Invisible Heroes Foundation with a $100 million endowment. The foundation provided legal defense, education funding, and career transition support for service workers who witnessed or reported corporate crimes. Keisha Williams proved that heroism wears work uniforms, Alexander told the packed press conference. Janitors, security guards, housekeepers, maintenance workers, they see everything. Now they'll have protection when they speak truth to power. Keisha was promoted to Director of Corporate Security for Pierce Industries, making more in 1 month than she'd previously earned in 2 years. But the title mattered less than the respect. Board meetings where her voice carried weight, security protocols that protected workers alongside executives. Maya and Jordan's lives transformed completely. The bullying stopped when their classmates realized their mother was a national hero, not a dangerous criminal. Maya wrote her 8th grade graduation speech about courage, dedicating it to my mom, who taught me that being invisible doesn't mean being powerless. Jordan joined the middle school wrestling team, channeling his mother's warrior spirit into sport. His coaches marveled at his natural tactical thinking and protective instincts towards smaller teammates. Congressional hearings followed Derek's conviction. Keisha testified about invisible workers who witness corporate crimes but lack protection to report them. Her testimony led to the Williams Worker Protection Act, enhanced whistleblower rights, expanded self-defense protections, and corporate liability for employee safety. The law passed with bipartisan support. Republicans praised military veterans defending innocent civilians. Democrats celebrated working-class heroes challenging corporate corruption. Keisha's story transcended political divisions. #Invisible No More became a global movement. Service workers in London documented sexual harassment by hotel guests. Janitors in Tokyo exposed industrial pollution cover-ups. Security guards in Mumbai reported corporate bribery attempts. Keisha's courage inspired millions to speak truth regardless of consequences. The Grand Meridian Hotel transformed into a symbol of worker dignity. Management instituted new policies: living wages, comprehensive benefits, respect training for all guests. Other hotel chains followed suit to avoid negative publicity. Derek's former associates faced their own justice. Russian handlers were expelled from diplomatic missions. Chinese operatives lost their covers. Domestic collaborators found themselves under federal investigation. The network that had seemed untouchable dissolved under legal pressure. Prison was not kind to Derek Stone. Inmates quickly learned his story. The man who'd threatened children, called women racial slurs, murdered journalists for money. Even hardened criminals had standards. He spent most of his time in protective custody, isolated and forgotten. Keisha visited him once, 6 months after his conviction. Not for closure or forgiveness, but to deliver a message. "You asked me what I was," she said through the reinforced glass. "I'm a mother who protects her children, a veteran who honors her oath, a worker who demands dignity. You saw weakness where strength was waiting." Derek said nothing. What words existed for such complete defeat? "Maya's applying to the Naval Academy next year. Jordan wants to be a teacher. They're proud of their mother now, not ashamed. That's worth more than your blood money ever could have been." She stood to leave, then turned back. "By the way, your old hotel room is now part of our employee break area. Every day, workers eat lunch where you planned murder. Seems appropriate somehow." Daddy. 1 year later, Keisha walked through the Grand Meridian lobby wearing her security supervisor uniform. Guests and staff greeted her by name with genuine respect. The marble floors she'd once mopped as an invisible worker now reflected her badge of authority. The transformation was complete. From shadow to spotlight, from dismissed to indispensable, from victim to victor. Derek Stone had tried to erase her from existence. Instead, he'd revealed her true power to the world. Maya's acceptance letter to the Naval Academy arrived on the anniversary of the hotel confrontation. She wanted to follow her mother's path, serve her country, protect the innocent, prove that heroes come in every color and gender. "I'm proud of you, baby," Keisha said, holding the letter with trembling hands. "I learned from the best," Maya replied. "You taught me that being invisible is a choice, not a sentence." Justice had many forms. Sometimes it wore robes and carried gavels. Sometimes it wore work uniforms and carried mops. But it always, eventually, found its way to the light. Derek Stone had learned too late that the people you dismiss as powerless might be the ones with power to destroy you. His legacy was measured in life sentences and international disgrace. Keisha Williams' legacy was measured in changed lives, protected workers, and children who grew up knowing their worth regardless of others' prejudices. In the end, that made all the difference. 18 months after Derek Stone received 17 consecutive life sentences, documentary filmmaker Maria Santos sat across from Keisha Williams in the Grand Meridian's executive security office. The same lobby where everything had changed stretched below them through floor-to-ceiling windows. "People ask if I'm different now," Keisha reflected, adjusting the framed photo of Maya in her Naval Academy uniform. "Truth is, I'm exactly the same person I always was. The only thing that changed is I stopped being afraid to let people see who I really am." The numbers told an extraordinary story. Derek's conviction had triggered investigations in 47 countries, resulting in 340 arrests of corporate assassins, corrupt officials, and their enablers. Recovery efforts returned $4.7 billion in stolen assets to victims' families worldwide. The Invisible Heroes Foundation operated in 63 countries now, providing legal protection and advocacy training to service workers who witnessed crimes. Hotel housekeepers in Bangkok exposed human trafficking rings. Airport janitors in Frankfurt reported terrorist financing. Office cleaners in New York documented insider trading schemes. Every month brought new heroes stepping out of the shadows. Maya, now 19, spoke at her academy graduation ceremony about courage inherited from invisible warriors. "My mother taught me that being unseen isn't weakness, it's reconnaissance. But knowing when to engage, when to fight for what's right, that's real power." Jordan, 15 and captain of his high school wrestling team, mentored younger kids about standing up to bullies. His favorite saying, learned from his mother, "Strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how much you can protect." The hospitality industry underwent revolution following Keisha's testimony before Congress. The Williams Worker Protection Act mandated panic buttons for all service staff, background checks for guests in VIP areas, and whistleblower protections that couldn't be waived by employment contracts. Corporate executives worldwide discovered that their invisible employees were watching, documenting, and increasingly willing to speak truth to power. Boardroom conversations became more careful when everyone knew the janitor might be recording illegal activities. Alexander Pierce's quantum encryption company went public at a record valuation, with Keisha serving on the board of directors. Her military expertise guided corporate security policies that became industry standard. Other companies recruited former service members for executive protection roles, recognizing skills that civilian employers had previously overlooked. Derek Stone's current reality stood in stark contrast. Federal Supermax prison in Colorado, 23 hours daily in an 8x10 concrete cell. No visitors except lawyers, no phone calls except emergencies, no possibility of parole, appeal, or early release. His former penthouse had been seized under RICO statutes, converted into transitional housing for military veterans. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Derek's luxury became shelter for the people he'd most despised. Prison wasn't kind to child-threatening racists. Even murderers had moral boundaries Derek had crossed. Protective custody became a permanent necessity, isolating him from general population inmates who'd made their feelings clear through creative interpretations of justice. Keisha's speaking career took her to military academies, corporate leadership conferences, and worker rights conventions across 6 continents. Her core message remained constant. Dignity isn't granted by others. It's claimed by yourself. Every person in this room has been invisible to someone, she told the audience. The question isn't whether you'll be underestimated. The question is what you'll do when that moment comes. The viral videos had been viewed over 800 million times across all platforms, spawning countless reaction videos, analysis pieces, and educational content. Military training programs used her tactics as case studies in asymmetric combat. Business schools examined the corporate conspiracy as a cautionary tale about institutional corruption. 3 best-selling books told different aspects of her story. Invisible No More topped memoir lists for 37 weeks. The Hotel Warrior became required reading in criminology courses. From Shadows to Spotlight inspired legislation in 12 countries. The ripple effects continued expanding. Every viewer who shared her story, every worker who refused to stay silent, every person who demanded visibility instead of accepting invisibility. Keisha's courage multiplied exponentially across human networks. Statistical impact told the story in numbers. 12.3 million social media followers, 847 speaking engagements, 156 international interviews, 23 honorary degrees, and 1 Presidential Medal of Freedom for exceptional civilian service in protecting democratic institutions. But Keisha measured success differently. Comments below. Share your invisible hero story. She addressed Maria's documentary camera directly. Who works behind the scenes in your life, protecting others without recognition? Tag them, thank them, see them. Subscribe to Blacktail's Stories if you believe courage has no minimum wage requirement, no uniform restrictions, no demographic limitations. Share this story with someone who needs reminding that their voice matters, their actions count. Their dignity is non-negotiable. Most importantly, remember this. Next time you see housekeeping staff, security guards, maintenance crews, food service workers, you're looking at someone's protector, someone's last line of defense against the darkness, someone who chose to serve others despite being treated as invisible. The final shot showed Keisha training new security personnel, teaching them that protection meant more than preventing theft. It meant creating environments where everyone could work with dignity and safety. Dedicated to invisible workers everywhere, text appeared over inspirational music, who keep civilization running while dreaming of the day they'll be seen. The screen faded to black with one final message. #respect the invisible, because everyone deserves recognition. In homes across the world, viewers reach for their phones. Time to start seeing.